What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to talk about battery power and the issues I have. I thought my batteries were draining far too fast until I did the calculations, and I want to show you what I did, so you also can get an idea of power consumption on board a speedboat. So let's get going. Alright guys, so I have 1, 2, 3 batteries down back here. I'll go over to the other side. Got one here and the fifth one over there. They're all 74 amp hours. So let's do the calculations with that. Alright guys, so I have 5 batteries, each 74 amp hours of power in them. About 12.75 volts, which means that's about pretty much 100% battery. And what I've noticed when I was out cruising is that as low as I got was 12.1 volts, and that was far beyond my comfort zone, and that's about 50% of the power. So I ran those numbers, and it also came back as with the power consumptions I have on board, it all added up. So I'm going to show you those calculations. There are probably other ways to calculate this, but as the numbers added up for me, I'm just going to show you how I did it and go from there. Okay, so there are 3 things that I spend my battery power on, and that's the refrigerator, the water pump, and also charging a lot of devices what we have here on board, different tablets and smartphones and so on. Let's put those numbers into the equation and sort this out. So my refrigerator has a power consumption about 5.5 amps, and that is when it's running, but it's running more or less constantly as we open and close the door and keep stuffing things in there that needs to be cooled. So let's calculate that almost 100%. Let's crunch the numbers and see what we end up with. Alright guys, down here is the freshwater pump for a freshwater tank up to the Galley. What I do here is I check the power rating on it, and I also know how much time I need to run the tap for each quantity of water, so we can translate that into the consumption we have when we are cruising for 24 hours, and then get a power consumption for that 24 hours, I think, yeah. Right, last but not least is the power consumption of all our devices that we're charging on board. Got a couple of few that are charging, so it's more or less a 24/7 charging situation here. So let's assume some amps there and throw it into the mix. So the background for me to check into this, do the calculations, is that I woke up one morning and the battery low voltage warning was like blinking inside the refrigerators. I needed to check that out, and I did my measurements on my battery, and that was 12.1%, which is 50%. And then I calculated the hours from I had like 12.7 down to 12.1, and then just let's put those numbers in and with the other consumptions and see what type of hours or amps we're gonna end up with. Alright, so I got 5 batteries times 74 amp hours equal 370 amp hour total. I believe I went down to about, now this is for 12.7 volts. I went down to 12.1 volt, and this is 100%. This is about 50%, so that would be half of that one. 5 amp hours, and that is by consumption. So I believe I used 185. So I used 185 amp hours in about 20 hours. 9.25 amp. I got a refrigerator. At about 5.5 amps. Charge devices. Devices are about 5 devices. Charging 2 times a day at 3 amps. Used to be 30 amp hour for devices. Refrigerator was about going constantly, you know, times 20 equal 110 amp hours there. Got 30 amp hours here. Got the water pump. That was 7 amps. We use 30 liters per day. And it takes 17 seconds per liter. So we run it for about, these two give me 510 seconds, which equals 0.14 hours. And this one times that one gives me 1 amp hour. That one isn't really big. The water consumption is about 1 amp hour down here. Yeah, devices 30 amp hours, and refrigerator up to 110 amp hours. 110 31 141 amp hours out of the 185 amp hours. That gives me, I had probably other consumption as well, opening, closing the engine hatch, perhaps bilge pump, and a little bit of other stuff, and also the efficiency, which I don't have, but you get the picture. So the numbers more or less add up here. So that's my consumption. That's why I got down to 50% in about 20 hours. And I need to keep track of my battery and not be out cruising too long. Just take it from there. So what I really need would be to be able to replenish this 9.25 amp would be like a solar panel or something like that. So I'm gonna look into installing that so that I can stay at the islands for a little bit longer. Alright guys, that's it for this episode. I hope you find that helpful. Please leave in the comments if there's something you're wondering about with my calculations, and if I can calculate it differently. But other than that, nice to see you here again. Please subscribe, hit that notification so you don't miss out on any future videos, and I'll see you in the next one.